This question is related to density. Before we attempt to answer this question, we must know what is density. Density of a substance is the mass per unit volume. What does density actually tells us? So, density tells us whether something feels heavy or light for its size. For example, this question is related to density. Before we attempt to answer this question, we must know what is density. Density of a substance. The formula for density is mass over volume, where m represents the mass in kg and v represents volume in meter cube. We can rearrange the density formula to find mass and volume. An easy way to remember these formula is to use the triangle method. With the triangle method, we draw a triangle. In the top half of the triangle, we put m, which represents mass, and the bottom half we put rho, represents density, and v represents volume. With the triangle method, we cover the variable we are trying to find. So if I were to cover the variable density, if I was looking for density and I cover density, then the formula for density will be mass over volume. If I cover mass, the formula for mass to find mass would be density multiplied by volume. And if I cover volume, the formula to find volume will be mass over density. Now that we know the definition and formula for density, we can now derive the SI unit for density. Recall that density is mass over volume. Mass is measured in kg, kilograms, and volume is measured in meter cube. We can now divide the kg by meter cube, and the SI unit for density will now become kg per meter cube. The question says, a metal alloy is made up from a mixture of 300 grams of copper and 200 grams of zinc. The density of copper is 8,900 and the density for zinc is 7,140. They want us to find the density of the alloy. They would have given us the mass of copper, which is 300 grams, the mass of zinc, which is 200 grams. We know that mass should be in kg. The mass that they give us is in grams. In order to convert from grams to kg, we have to divide grams by 1,000. So for copper, it will be 300 divided by 1,000, which gives us 0.3 kg. For zinc, it is 200 divide 1,000, which gives us 0.2 kg. Notice how they did not give us the volume of either metals. However, we have the mass of the metals and the density of the metal. So we can use those variables to find the volume of the metal. So volume is mass over density. Volume for copper would be 0.3 kg all over 8,900 kg per meter negative cube. And this would give us 0.0003371 to cube. And this insignificant figure would be 3.37 by 10 to the negative 5 meter cube. The volume for zinc would be 0.2 kg over 7,140 kilograms per meter negative cube, and the answer would be 2.80 by 10 to the negative 5 meter cube. Remember, the alloy is made up of those two metals, so we need to add the two masses and the two volumes. Mass would be equal the mass of copper plus the mass of zinc, which would be 0.3 plus 0.2 kg. This is equal to 0.5 kg. The volume of the alloy is 3.37 by 10 to the negative 5 plus 2.80 by 10 to the negative 5 meter cube. Volume of the alloy is 6.17 by 10 to the negative 5 meter cube. At this point, we know the mass of the alloy and the volume of the alloy. We can now move on to answering the question. At this point, we know the mass of the alloy and the volume of the alloy. We can now move on to answering the question, which is finding the density of the alloy. At this point, we have the mass of the alloy and the volume of the alloy. We can now find the density of the alloy. Density is equal to mass over volume. The mass of the alloy is 0.5 kg. And the volume of the alloy is 6.17 by 10 to the negative 5 meter cube. When we problem, we get 8,103.73 kg per meter negative cube. And there you have it. That is the answer.